This Amateur Radio Roundtable is brought to you in part by Icom America. All right, good evening to everybody out there. This is the Amateur Radio Roundtable. I'm Tom Edlin, W5KUB, and you're with us tonight. Hey, if you didn't vote, I think the polls are closed, so it's probably too late. But I hope everybody went out there and voted tonight. The show's probably going to be pretty short tonight. I'm going to go in there and try to watch some of the news, see what went on during the show. If you're listening to us on famous international shortwave station, WBCQ, send us an email. Send it to tom@w5kub.com and let us know where you are and how you heard the show tonight. If you're new to us, if this is one of the first shows you've attended or in your chat room, let us know in the chat room. Tell us you're new, your first time. I'm also looking for a friend of mine, KP3G, Chewy. Chewy's his nickname, his real name is Jose Torres. He worked with me in FedEx. He just retired, I think, this week. So he said he sent me an email today, and he's got a lot more time now for ham radio. So we're looking for Chewy, KP3G on there. He did say in the email he heard me on the 40-meter net tonight, but he couldn't get back to me. I always got some vertical down here. 40 meters was terrible tonight. Normally we have tons of check-ins, and we go an hour, hour and a half. I closed the net down after about 15 minutes tonight. It was pretty bad. So, hey, tonight we got a couple of great things going on here. We're going to talk about kits. You're going to meet Howard Nurse, and we're going to talk about the RSS, the RigPi Station Server. And Martin's on here. And we're probably going to get into ham radio. And I want to, old times and stuff, I want to find out why his crystal set didn't work. We're going to dig into why a crystal set didn't work tonight. And if anybody knows anything about a crystal set, it's only got 3 parts in it. So it shouldn't be too hard to troubleshoot there. So anyway, let's see what's going on here. Let's jump around and just check out everybody here that's in here remote and say hello to them. And I want to just make sure I got all the camera shots working here. Let's see.
I think.
Let me try that one right here. That's better. So, hey, we'll start with Joe up there. Hey, Joe, how you doing, man?
Well, hi, Tom. How are you? And greetings from Lincoln, Nebraska, where, yes, we're expecting our second snowfall of the season on Thursday. We had some like 3 weeks ago, so it was quite a deal. But hopefully this one won't be one of these traffic problems and so forth. Anyways, I do have some kits to show, and we'll show some pictures, and then we'll show some live shots here.
All right, well, hang on a second. Let's jump around. Let's just say hi to Martin. Say, Martin, how you doing tonight, man?
Oh, I'm doing really good, Tom. This is Martin, K5FLU in Starkville, Mississippi. And I had just got through meeting with a group of seniors in electrical engineering who's doing a senior design project, and I hope some of them will call in where I can introduce you to them. One of them,
that would be great,
is the president of he's the vice president of the Mississippi State University Ham Radio Club. And,
all right.
And he will get his ham radio license pretty soon.
That is cool, and we'll open the phone lines up a little later. Hey, let me ask you just a quick question. I want to ask all 3 of you. Can you see me, or is my camera off?
I can't see you.
Oh boy, I get 10 demerits. Now, how about now? Is it on now?
No, but I can see myself.
All right. Oh yeah, you see yourself there. Yeah, now.
And
yeah.
somebody's microphone is scratching. So somebody's got a mic that's on their shirt that's kind of scratching.
Well, that may be me. I don't know.
Now I can see you.
Tom.
Now you see me.
I bet
Okay.
it's you, Tom.
I think it is me. So I'll try to be quiet. Okay, my camera went off. Skype is doing some crazy things with the cameras tonight, guys. And hey, Joe and Howard and Martin, if you start hearing a lot of scratchy stuff on this mic, let me know, and I'm gonna switch mics.
Yeah, I think you better switch mics.
Oh
It's
man, already? Gee, that didn't last long, did it? All right, let me change here.
I don't hear that scratching.
Well, we're gonna. Let me turn this off. All right, so we're back on. All right, now so. Forgot where.
Because you got to introduce Howard.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to do. I was going to go to Howard next, and our other remote guest tonight, let me go back here. Our other remote guest tonight is Howard Nurse out in California. Hey, Howard, how you doing?
Hello, Tom. It's good to be here. Thank you for including me in tonight's show. My call is W6HN. I'm located just north of San Francisco in Mill Valley, and loving the weather here.
All right. Well, so you're near San Francisco then, I guess, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, we're about 15 minutes north of San Francisco on the freeway, 101 freeway.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. Well, and hey, I know you have some exciting things to tell us tonight. We'll introduce you here in a little while, but let's just jump right into the show tonight. And let's jump up here with Joe K0NEB real quick. And let's just get started. Now, Joe, you got some new kits for us, I think. Let me get Howard's name off. Here we go. Okay, Joe, pick it up, Joe.
Okay, yeah. Well, welcome to the show. And yes, I did vote. I did vote earlier. Actually, I voted yesterday. And so I avoided the lines. It is a wonderful sunny day, though, here. We had a sunny day here in Lincoln. So we got to look at the fall and look at kit building time. So first off, we're going to look at, let's see here. This is the Hilltopper, and we mentioned this kit before. This is put out by the 4-state QRP group. And you'll notice that the case is made from the printed circuit board material itself. So what I'm going to do is we're going to share the screen out, and we're going to, let's see if we can do this. See if we can get our pictures on. Tom, do we have pictures?
Well, I'm seeing your password right now. No, I see a picture. I see the Hilltopper.
Okay, yeah, this is the Hilltopper 20. We'll make that a little bigger. This is the Hilltopper 20. They just came out with the 40-meter version of this. So the only difference is it'll say Hilltopper 40 instead of 20, and it will cover the 40-meter band. Now, the gain control is obviously the audio volume. The speed control is the speed of the built-in keyer. The function button, of course, switches between different functions in there. And the tuning knob also has a button on it that you can push down, and you can go to different speeds of tuning. When you tap the function button briefly, what it does is it will play the frequency in kind of an abbreviated form in CW. Now, the reason I'm bringing this kit up again, like I said, is because the 4-state QRP group has just come out with the 40-meter version of this. And it's identical to what you see here, just with the 40-meter version. So let's see if we can, how about that? This is what it looks like inside. The 40-meter version is pretty much identical, except for the fact that it has a couple of different toroids in it. So obviously some parts values are different for the different band, but you have different windings on the toroids, and like I said, some different component values, but it's essentially the same circuit, and so it'll be available for 40 meters. In fact, it's available now, and the rumor is that 4-state is going to come out with a 30-meter version of this as well. The two surface mount ICs that you see down here, this one and this one, are already mounted for you. And this little blue board here, you have to mount it onto the main board, but this blue board is also pre-assembled for you. So you don't have to do any of the surface mount that you see there. So that is the Hilltopper, and it's available from the 4-state.
All right. I have to interject here. Somebody has noticed in the chat room that somebody is eating something. One of the guys on our Skype is eating something.
So that's Martin.
No, it's not me.
Not you, Martin? Okay.
I'm just chewing on some nuts.
All right. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, so this is what the back panel looks like. You got headsets, key, and everything else. We're going to look at, if you remember, a few weeks ago, I showed the microBitX, okay, with the
Yeah.
3D printed case. This is a 3D printed microphone. And this was printed for me also by Spencer, KE0QOY, from here on his 3D printer. And the cable I used is simply one of those computer audio cables. And then you have the different parts of the mic. Now, the screws and stuff I had to supply and the cable, but the microphone and the switch were supplied as part of the microBitX, and then the shell with the front, the back, and the push-to-talk button were supplied by the 3D printer. This little piece here I didn't cover before when we were talking about the microBitX. One of the, oops, I don't know why that went back. One of the things I get to do at work is tear apart old machines to take the hard drives out for destruction, because obviously we don't want people's personal data to end up at the recycler. So what we do is we take the machine apart, and what we do is we take out pieces that we might need for other machines. We take out memory. We take the hard drives out so that they can be destroyed effectively. And I found this fan here on a hard drive array and server, and it's used to cool the hard drives off. And it's 12 volts. So guess where that's going? That's going to go in the microBitX, as well as this fan that I'll show you in a little bit when we go back to the camera. But this is going to be used as part of the cooling system of the microBitX.
And hey, let me know how that works, because I put a little cooling fan like that, a little 1 or 1.5 inch cooling fan on my BITX, and it generated so much noise I had to take it off. So I don't know.
You're talking about physical noise or RF?
RF noise. You know, I don't know if that's brushless or if it's got brushes or what the deal is, but boy, it was really bad. Yeah,
Okay.
just
well,
FYI.
it'll be something to try.
Yeah, FYI, because that would really be a nice cooling deal to be able to put that on there, you know.
Yeah, that particular one is very small and very quiet, so that would be a good one. Now what we're looking at here is 3 kits from Japan. I was very fortunate that my son thought of me when he was in Tokyo a couple weeks ago, and he brought me back 3 kits from a Japanese store. Now, one of the things that's interesting about these is the instructions are all in Japanese, so I'm going to use Google Translate, and we'll figure them out. But the 3 kits are a motor speed controller, a 555 timer, and a digital, it's kind of a digital controller. It puts the numbers up on the LED display, but it's used to control things like a VFO or something like that. He saw a lot of other kits that were all in English, and he thought they were all American, and so he didn't get me any of those. And I told him later on, when I found out that that's what had happened, is that those kits actually come from Thailand and Singapore and Hong Kong, so they speak English too. So next time he goes, he'll make sure he gets me some of those as well, because he discovered later by looking up the kit manufacturer's name that the kits actually came from Thailand that he was looking at. One was called Kits or Us. So when you're working with these Japanese kits, this is the manual, okay? And this is what it looks like. And you can see it's all written in Japanese, but the parts diagram is there, so it's relatively easy to put that together. So like I said, using a little Google Translate where you can shine your camera on it and it puts it up in English on your phone, we'll figure out the stuff that we don't know, and the stuff that's pretty easy to figure out, we'll just kind of solder it and put it together.
Now,
and we'll make that thing work.
Joe, now, in these Chinese kits, you don't solder, you have to weld.
Yeah, well, these are Japanese, so I don't know if it says welding or not in Japanese. But this kit runs on 4 to 6 volts DC, so a 5-volt supply would be fine, like a USB supply or so forth. And so it'll be interesting to see how this works. Like I said, there's a 7 cable bus along with the ground, which makes 8, that obviously controls something else. And so there's a PIC on there, and it'd be kind of interesting to see what's in this. This is the inside of the newer version of the 4-state QRP tuner. And what's interesting about this is you'll notice that there are 3 big resistors here, and then there's some others there and some diodes and transistors and so forth. But obviously there's no power supply. And the reason is that it derives the voltages that operate that circuit from the RF itself. And what this does is, with this switch, and I'll show you the older one, has an in and out. And what it does is when you're tuning it, you put it in the tune position, and the SWR will never be above 2 to 1. So many of your kit radios, have no VSWR protection. So if it goes over 2 to 1, you might have a problem. So this circuit lets you measure the SWR, and it lights up the green and red lights. If the red light is on, it's too high. If the green light comes on, it's just right. And so the neat thing about this tuner is it's not only good for QRP from 80 through 10 meters for 5 watts, it's also good for general coverage shortwave broadcast receivers. You can take your wire you strung out to the tree, and I'll show you how it will connect to this, and you can just tune the inductor and the 2 capacitors, and you can peak those shortwave broadcast signals. And in addition to that, it will help attenuate those out-of-band signals. Now, like the other kit, this thing uses printed circuit board material to make its case. So when you get the kit, all the parts to make the case are part of the circuit board that comes apart. This is what the older version of it looked like, but like I said, there's only a few changes. And if you look inside the case there, you'll see the 2 binding posts that'll either take banana plugs, or you can just put a wire in there. And you can hook that to random wires, and you can tune it with this as well. So you can tune just about anything so that your general coverage shortwave broadcast receiver works as well. And this is what the finished front panel of one of these things looks like. So this kit came out about 4 years ago or so from the 4-state group, and they just re-released it this week, and they're selling like hotcakes. So if you want to get one of these tuners, it's great. The only thing I can say is that for receive, obviously you're not going to use the LEDs. You just peak it for maximum. So let's see if we can unshare the screen and get my face back on. How's that, Tom? Do we have
Looks
it back?
good. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the 4-state tuner. This is the older one in the case and everything. And it's not very big. And you can see the binding posts on the top where you can hook an antenna, or you can hook it up to the BNC connectors. We were talking about that fan earlier. This is another one that I have. This is an Antec fan. Also came out of a server, but it was exceptionally clean. So we're going to see if it does make a lot of noise. This is the 4-state tuner kit. You can see the 2 tuning capacitors. The switch is mounted, but it's not wired yet. So we'll finish that up in the next day or 2, and we'll have the newer version of the 4-state tuner kit done. And this is the current version that you can get today. The Hilltopper, just for reference, it just fits in my hand like this. It's very light, very simple, a great little CW transceiver. And I was at a Hamfest in Kansas City a couple weeks ago, and I was kind of surprised this guy had this for sale. I know he built it. He's one of the consummate builders, I think. And he had this for sale for, I think it was like $125, and I couldn't pass this up. This is an Elecraft K1, and they do not make these anymore. And like all Elecraft radios, very, very well done. Had all the documentation and everything with it. So this is going to be an addition to my portable Go kits, the Elecraft K1 CW transceiver. So, Tom, I think we've made our time limit, and really enjoy being part of the show, and glad we could make our monthly contribution to the Amateur Radio Roundtable.
All right,
Question
Joe.
here.
Well, I'll tell you, you always got some really neat kits, and those are kind of neat tonight. And I love that little KX, that KX radio you got there. All right. Well, hey, thanks. Stick around if you want
Martin had
to,
a question.
Joe. You don't have to leave us. Stick around and join in later if you want to.
Yeah, Martin had a question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Martin.
Joe, would you be interested in doing an antenna kit?
I think that would be nice. An antenna kit would be a lot of fun, and a great thing to both show on here and write about for the magazine.
Do you know about the cobweb?
I've seen it. Yes, it's
Okay.
a multi-band. Yes.
Yeah, I would get Richard Stubbs to get in contact with you. And if you're interested, we'll send you one and see what you think about it.
That sounds great. I'd love to do an antenna kit. Always a lot of fun.
Okay. Good to see you, man.
Bet.
All right. Cool. All right. So, all right. Hey, guys, next we're going to talk about, it's a really neat thing. On this show, we've talked a lot about different remote control software. I call it remote base, remote shack, whatever. Some work a little bit better than others. Some are for Droid, some are for Windows, some are hardware. I mean, there's all types out there. But on the show lately, you've been seeing a new one that's coming out, and I just recently joined the beta test team there. And this is actually a product that MFJ is going to have, and I'm really impressed with it. I've got a unit here, and I really like it already. Martin, you want to talk just a minute about it, and then we'll introduce Howard.
Yeah. Well, let me first talk a little bit about HeatKit back in the old days when we used to build HeatKit ourselves. The catalogs that we used to get was very nice, and on the inside cover of the first page was a letter and a picture of a very distinguished gentleman, always in a suit, and his name was David, I think, David Nurse. Did I get that right?
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
would this be him right here?
That is him. Or I mean, look at all the hate kit that surrounds him.
Man.
He was one of my heroes,
Yeah.
and now we have Mr. Nurse, son, with us tonight, and Howard has done some pretty amazing things, and I've used his remote app to control my KX3, and it's pretty incredible what he has done. Tom, I forgot what your question was.
No, I was just saying let's have a little intro here and talk about it and introduce Howard here.
Okay.
Howard's relatively new to me. I've only known him recently, but hey, he's a real old timer. I thought I was old at 54 years being a ham. Martin is really kind of he's pushing it. Martin is about 58 years or something like that. But I'll tell you, I don't want to say anything bad about our new guest tonight, but he's been a ham for 60 years. Howard's been a ham since 1958.
That's right.
How old were you, Howard?
Oh, man, that's so long ago I can't remember, Martin. I
Well,
would have to admit how old I am now if I said that.
well, I tell you, I'm really getting impressed with the RigPi. You call it the RSS. I guess that's the RigPi Station Server is the name. Is that right, Howard?
Absolutely right. The RigPi Station Server. You've nailed it.
And oh man, I'm gonna let you talk all about it. But already, hey, I've got under my ham desk over there, I've got a laptop that I have an external monitor on, on my desk, and I use it to do call lookup and DX spots and things like that. That laptop has been running under my desk. Now, when I turn all my radios off, I got one switch that turns all the radios off. But it takes a while to boot up a PC, so I've left this laptop on. This laptop has been on solid day and night for 7 or 8 years, maybe longer. It's a little slow, but you know what? The RigPi, it's a computer. And I love the web browser in it. It does all the stuff that my laptop was doing.
Absolutely. You can even play games, Tom.
Well, I don't know. I don't play games on a computer like some people, but Howard, first let's talk a little about your background. You got your ham license in '58. I know you did some work for Heath, and I know you worked on maybe some software for some of their early computers and things like that. And I know you worked radio teletype. Let's see, I got a picture here. Let's look at this. Wait a minute, let me find this. I want to ask you about this. There we go. There you are right there. I see a Model 28 back there. Now, I think in your bio you said not many people would have that in their house. I not only had that in my house, but I had the ASR, which is about twice that wide.
Yes.
And in fact, in the Air Force, they sent me a year to school, and I was a teletype repairman. I can pull the main shaft out of that Model 28 right there and change all the clutches out in it. What do you think about that?
That's pretty impressive.
All right.
We had the only house, this is when we were living in Palo Alto, we had the only house on our street with 3 teletype machines in our dining room.
Yeah. Well, you were doing good there to have a Model 28. Most people had a Model 14, Model 15, whatever, and, you did pretty good.
Model 28 was a gift, in a sense, from Irv Hoff, who a lot of people probably remember from the old RTTY days.
Uh-huh.
He was one of the first RTTY writers and spent a lot of time on the air. He was a pilot by profession. So he'd come home from flying and spend 22 hours a day running teletype. And he lived about 4 miles from where we lived. So it was quite an honor to get to know Irv.
Yeah. Well, hey, I've got a picture here. Maybe this was a novice picture right here. What kind of,
yes.
Is that a receiver with a big dial on top? I'm not familiar with that. What is that?
Yeah, that's a National NC-109, and they had 2 versions of it. I think this was the less expensive one, but that was my novice radio. I had the call KN2MSP at the time, and had a 17-watt homebrew transmitter to the right. And you can even see some of my original QSL cards up on the board, up above the receiver. So that was several years after I got the amateur radio passion, and it's been with me ever since. It's as we say in the computer world, it's almost a terminal disease.
Yeah. Well, most people don't have their own existing separate shack, but you had a shack here. Look at it now. You were older there, right?
That was in college. That's the famous field shack of W6YX, the Stanford Amateur Radio Club. We had an antenna farm there that was pretty amazing. The first time I ever was able to use a kilowatt with a rhombic. And that would just about do anything you wanted to do on the ham bands. In fact, I recall one time, and I shouldn't admit this, we loaded it up on 11 meters.
Yeah.
And on one of the busy channels, and keyed it down with a kilowatt and let the key up, and it was absolutely silent for about 30 seconds. And finally, somebody keyed his mic and they said, "What the H was that?"
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. So, hey, teletype, you've done some development. I guess you really got started in the computers with some of the Heath computers that came out, the H8, I believe.
Yes.
And you wrote you wrote some drivers, some programs and stuff, ASCII ball dot drivers for teletype, I think, for the H8. And before,
right.
even before there were TNCs, now I understand that before there were TNCs or even Sound Blaster cards, you designed a product called the Coderm or something. Well, what was that?
Podium. Right. It was a simple demodulator for a Morse code program that a friend of mine developed, and I marketed it through my company at the time named ComSoft. My first product was an RTTY program, which I wrote, that ran on the H8 and later the H89. In fact, Heathkit sold that program for a couple of years, which was a pretty nice arrangement. And we then came out with a CW program. We came out with a solid state board and grayscale video board for the Apple II, and sold that for a few years. So this was back in the early 80s. So that was back in the dark ages.
So you've got a lot of experience there in developing things like this that kind of fit into ham radio. Let's talk a little about the RigPi. And I'm gonna just turn it over to you right now. I don't know if you got a presentation or you just want to talk about it or how you want to do it, but let's talk a little about the RigPi.
Great. Well, I should start out by saying thank you to Martin, because Martin was really what inspired me to undertake this project over a year ago now. And he had recontacted me. I had met him many years ago at the Dayton Hamvention, but when he started using Comcat Mobile, my iOS app for remote control, Martin contacted me, and we got reacquainted at that time. And he said, well, if there's anything you ever want to do in terms of a hardware software kind of product, you let me know. And that got me thinking about something that I've been dreaming about for a long time. And probably the best way to introduce RigPi is to show a fairly short presentation. This presentation is on the RigPi website, if anybody would care to download it, www.rigpi.com. So let me go ahead and get that set up and turn on screen sharing, and I'll run through it. Let's see here. And share screen. And we'll play. Now this is a presentation.
I don't have anything yet. Did your screen come up?
Yeah.
You got your presentation up?
I sure do. What do you see?
I see you.
Ooh.
I don't see any presentation.
Let me try this. This is a.
Now I'm seeing a different screen. There. Now I see it. Now I see it.
Great.
There we go. There we go.
These technical gadgets, we trip over them every once in a while. So I originally put together this presentation when I went back to spend a couple of days at Martin's day in the park, celebrating, I think it was your 50th, wasn't it, Martin?
I think it's 45th.
46, I think. 45.
Yeah.
45. Okay. As you get older, you tend to add more years to the actual numbers. So I originally put this together. We showed the RigPi Station Server for the first time at MFJ a little over a year ago, and I've modified it since to update it into its current configuration. This idea of having a server for station control originally came about a number of years ago. I have a website on a server called myqsx.net, which I launched in 2009. And it started to think about why not station control using a browser, but on software running remotely on a server. And thought about what that might take, and ran a number of tests on my remote server. A number of problems doing that and having to do with lag time and that sort of thing. But then along came the Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi is a complete Linux computer, and on a very small card, that's the computer that serves as the basis for the RigPi Station Server. It has extensive I/O. You can see 4 USB ports on the end. It runs many ham applications that are currently available, and most of all, it's fairly expensive. You can get a Raspberry Pi version free for $35 to $40, depending on where you purchase it. So my goal, a number of goals, as I thought about the product, obviously rig and rotor control would be starting point, but I also want to do logging, callback lookup, DX spot management, Morse code keying, and audio through VoIP in order to allow it to be used in remote applications. But one thing I've added to the original goal list that I thought about way back is the ability to make it multi-user. This is really a multi-op, multi-radio device. So you can log in with multiple accounts, or people can log in through the internet with their own account and control one or more radios. And finally, the code that's at the basis for the RigPi Station Server will be open source, so anybody can go in and modify it. And as Tom says, we'll probably see a few RigPi bricks before long, because it's so tempting to want to go in and make changes to make it even better for your own purposes. The keyer board and the audio board are both boards that MFJ is producing or will produce. It's an add-on board that attaches through the GPIO connector, and it uses the very popular K0NEB WinKeyer chip. So any software that is compatible with the WinKeyer devices made by Steve, K0NEB, of course, it's compatible with this board. And the board will be included in the RSS from MFJ. The RigPi audio board is a standard audio device when you look at it from the computer's end. It's compatible with popular VoIP programs and the digital modes. And in fact, the RigPi Station Server will come preloaded with a VoIP program called Mumble, and also the digital modes will be accomplished with FLDG and WJSTX, all preloaded, ready to go. You have a transformer isolation on the input and output to reduce hum. It has IQ input. I love to use that with my KX3 to do spectrum analysis. It has push-to-talk options, and again, this is a board that will be included with the RSS from MFJ. You can control your station from anywhere through the internet, and what's really neat is it's compatible with any browser. So not only will it run on iOS devices, but also Android devices, any Chromebooks or Mac or PC computers. Since it is accessed through a browser, there really aren't any limits as long as the computer that you're using has a browser to browse the internet. It also is compatible with Comcat for Windows, which is a program that I've been working on for about 20 years now, and Comcat Mobile, which is a free iOS app on the Apple App Store. Comcat Mobile will connect directly to RigPi, and you can control it with your iPhone if you prefer the interface from Comcat Mobile as opposed to a browser. It can be used battery operated in the field, and you can even use it where there's no internet required. The callbook lookup, for example, uses an FCC onboard database. So even in the field, if you're out in the boonies and you want to look up a US call, the information is all right there on the RigPi. You can think about various remote networks. The device, of course, can connect to a repeater for syncing. It can link to other RigPi nodes, and also some of the emergency operations use warp kind of network and WinLink 2000. That can all be run on the Raspberry Pi. But many of the applications include, of course, local station control with logging in, call lookup, DX spot management, and keying, CW keying. But you can also use it for remote or mobile radio control. It's a great device for field day. You can put it in a Go box and have your computer all set when you need to go in the field on an emergency basis. It would be wonderful for de-expeditions and for emergency communications. It's a way to communicate when there's no power, internet, or cell. So even if a hurricane comes through and takes down all of the cell connections or even power, you can run the Raspberry Pi from a battery and your rig from a battery and operate without any power, internet, or cell phone operation. The Mumble VoIP client allows texting, so you can text between different users that happen to be connected. If I'm connected to one account and Martin is logged in from Mississippi on another account, we can text each other through the RSS. Also, you can think about using it as a gateway to outside services using RigPi. It's a big thing that emergency folks use in order to carry message traffic outside of an area that has been hit by a disaster. So the device, this is a prototype of the device. It's known as the model MFJ1234. I think that's a really cool name, and really pleased that Martin assigned sort of a good sounding call sign to the product name. You can see the USB connectors on the right, and takes 5-volt power. There is an HDMI connector, so you can connect a monitor and connect a keyboard through the USB port, a mouse through the USB port, have a complete computer, and you're off and running. So that's the presentation. I do also want to bring up just quickly a browser showing you what the browser interface looks like. This is the main tuner window, frequency readout, an S meter, and a tuning knob. The keyboard allows you to connect in to the WinKeyer and send CW. I don't know if you can hear that or not. I'm sending X's. Logbook, which at this moment doesn't have anything in it. The spot manager allows you to see spots and display them on a...
I like it. I was looking at today. You can click on a DX contact right there, and it'll actually tune the RigPi to that frequency.
That's right. And the call that you currently clicked on is shown as a red bar in the list of spots. You can connect to any Telnet cluster. There's a big list of them in the settings, and choose the one that's closest to you, and away you go. If you want to look at a web page that is built within the RSS, this particular web page doesn't show a lot of biographical information because it's using the FCC database, but you can see it picks up the Google map of the location of the station, flag of the country, and other information about the location and DXC number, the code, the CQ zone, the ITU zone, and the WPX for CB4BT. So that's just a really quick overview, and I think we're about right on schedule in terms of finishing up the formal presentation. Tom,
Yeah.
are there any questions that you have, or maybe people in the forum have?
Well, let's just see if there's any, and let me, I'm going to bring you back, get off the presentation here. So you're back there. Well, hey, I like it, and I like the lookup. I don't think the lookup displayed properly on the show there, but when I did the lookup on mine here, it pops up a nice little box with the call and everything in it, and it's really handy for looking up people. You don't have to go to QRZ or any other place to do it. It's just there, and it's just really cool.
Can I make a comment?
You go ahead, Martin.
The amazing thing about this, before when you wanted to remote control your radio, you had to know a lot about computers. But the way that Howard has it done is you don't have to know much. All you need to do is bring a browser up and be able to operate your radio that's at your home. It's pretty incredible.
Well, and like you say, the reason you guys picked that MFJ 1, 2, 3, 4 is you want to make this thing as easy as 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
That's exactly right.
And it's supposed to be a plug and play. And hey, if you know nothing about this, hopefully it'll be documented well on how to set it up. It's pretty simple to set up. Hey, I had no instructions at all, and I finally figured it out. But I think once some instructions are written, it'd be easy for anyone to set this thing up and get it working. And the nice thing about it is it's in a little 4-inch square box, and that replaces your station computer.
Would it be inappropriate to both you, Tom, and Howard, that if we asked if there are any one that might be interested in being beta testers?
Well, we could.
That's
There may be,
appropriate,
there'll
but
probably be 1,000
prepared
people out
for a
there.
big
I've got
avalanche.
one right here. Howard, Howard wants to be a beta tester. Howard is very interested in this thing. Howard Rook, NR3E, he's one of your first volunteers there. Let's see, I'm sure there's others that would love to beta test. Tell you what, if they'll send us an email, I don't know how many you and Howard are wanting, but if people are interested, they can send us an email, and we'll get that to you, Martin and Howard, and you guys can decide, on what you want to do there.
Okay.
Anybody with the name of Howard can't be all bad.
Did I call you Howard? Or I meant Walter. I didn't mean Howard. Hey, I've got help in the studio tonight. Walter, Martin, you know Walter. He's down here tonight, and I called him Howard. I don't know why I'm doing that
Walter,
today. The pilot.
Airplane pilot.
Yeah.
Hey, Howard. Hey, Walter.
Got everybody doing it.
Hey, lately I've been calling everybody by the wrong name, man. I don't know. It's that's terrible. But okay, let's see what's in the chat room. They're wanting to know how this device can communicate without an internet or a cell connection. So you might want to touch on that, Howard.
Well, the device itself, of course, in its primary operation, only needs to talk to the radio. You plug the radio into the USB port, and so you don't need any internet beyond that. The call sign lookup, the logging, all of the functions of the RigPi are built in and don't need the internet. If you need to communicate with other areas around you and the internet is down, then there are ham ways of doing that. There are protocols and programs that allow you to use radio links to send messages without the internet.
Well, I know when I set this one up here, I set it up on my local LAN, a local network, and I was able to communicate within my local LAN to it, not going out on the internet, so I could operate from different rooms, upstairs, downstairs, whatever. And also, this has Wi-Fi built in, so you don't actually have to have an Ethernet connection. You can use Wi-Fi. And one of the things I noticed, and help me verify this, Howard, I noticed that it's got the I think it's got the 5 gig, the 802.11a radio in it. Is that right?
It has which interface, Mark?
In the Wi-Fi, the 802.11a, which is the 5 gig frequency.
Yes. Right.
And
the newest version
that's
of
important.
The Raspberry Pi does have that.
Yeah, that's important. A lot of things just have the 2.4, gigahertz radio in them, but this is the 2.4 and the 5,
That's right.
which is good.
You know, one of the really fun applications of this will be that you're able to operate mobile in your car without a radio, as long as you have a internet connection through your cell phone.
And Martin, that's exactly why I'm so interested in this remote-based stuff, is because I've tried mobile. I don't like the antenna on there you have to put on there, and also I've got ignition noise, and it's terrible. And you've got a $1,000 radio in your truck that's going to get ripped off, and you're working with an antenna that's what, 6, 7, 8 feet tall there on the back of your thing. Why not have a little tablet in the truck and have an antenna that's 172 feet long at home? That's a lot better.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's a lot better. Well, let's see. Let's see if there's any more questions here real quick. Let me see if I can get us back on here, get the right, there we go. Trying to switch cameras around tonight. There we go. Let's see. They want to know the price point. Now, I know, Martin, you and I have talked a little about it. What do you think the price point's going to be? And I'm sure you've got some options on how you sell this thing too. You know, it's got a sound card in it. It's got a CW keyer in it, which has some benefits because you can get some contacts off of it, like push to talk and different things. So, but I guess a person could buy it without the keyer if they just didn't want to do CW. I think it would function, but what are you thinking on price breaks?
Well, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to price it out, but we're going to make it as as inexpensive as we can and available in many different configurations. So if they don't need a CW keyer, they don't have to have that board. If they don't have if they already have a Raspberry Pi, they don't have to have that. We'll make it available and make it as flexible as possible. But we haven't come up with a definite cost on it yet.
I think we mentioned maybe a $300, $299 price range, and depending on options in it, it might be less. Who knows? Yeah. So let's see. I had another question about this, but I forgot what it was. I'll come back to it here in just a minute. If you're interested in beta testing, send Tom an email, tom@w5kub, and I'll get that to Martin and Howard.
Okay, Tom, has that guy who was eating those cashew nuts, has he gone away?
Well, I guess he probably has. Was it that guy eating cashew nuts? Is that what it was? All right. Hey, I know what I was going to ask, and I briefly touched base with Howard here. This thing is going to be on a Raspberry Pi, and the source code, or whatever you call it, firmware, source code, whatever, is going to be open source. And I suppose you're probably going to have it on your MFJ site for people that need it. But my concern is I'm not very good on things like Raspberry Pi or Arduino, and if I get in here and start screwing out the code, I'll make the thing 100% non-functioning. I guarantee you. So when somebody gets into this open source code and tries to make changes, they're going to make this thing a brick, and you're going to have to decide, how you support that. And I'm guessing you're going to say, click on this link, and this will download the latest firmware or whatever you call it, the latest that operates, and have them reinstall it. What's your thoughts about that, Howard? And
yes, first of all, it will be available on GitHub, which is one of the two major open source software websites. Now, that won't happen right away. We're trying to get all the dust to settle first, and the biggest job left at this point is getting the help system all finished up. But it's not going to be available on GitHub immediately, but that doesn't mean that you can't go in and modify the software if you are so inclined. Now, it may be open source, but even with Windows programs that are compiled after having worked with Comcat now for 20 years, I can tell you there are a lot of ways to mess up a program before you even think about getting into the source code.
Well, you give it to me and I can mess it up for sure.
Yeah. Well, if you don't want to end up with problems, then don't enter the code.
But since it is open source, people will be able to go in here and do things, right? Now, I know you've got macros on there where they can configure buttons. I'm assuming you're going to let people change the code on, in a line or two for different macros. Is that the same as screwing up the open source, or is that kind of a different area?
No, that's a different area. All of the macro settings are done through a settings window.
Okay.
So the instructions will show how to use some pre-built macros. The RigPi will come with a set of macros already, but depending on your video, you'll be able to put your own macros to do things to control your radio that won't be provided as part of the native macro set or part of the functions of RigPi. But I should point out that, for example, the source is open because, and it will be very easy to modify, it's an HTML application. And HTML is hypertext markup language. That's what is used on most websites today. It's very widespread, very easy to learn. It also uses a language called PHP, which is very easy to learn, very easy to read. So this is also an opportunity for anybody that would like to learn programming and in a way that is driven by their own interest in ham radio. So that's a pretty neat way to look at it too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this sounds great. I'm going to be testing it, Howard, on my Icom and also the Yaesu radio soon. Right now, I've got it working on the Kenwood. And it's working so well as a remote base on the Kenwood, I hate to take it off and put it on something else. But my job is to check it out on the others, so we'll be checking it out on the others.
By the way, you have a 7610, and we ran into a problem with a CIV code for the 7610. That has now been fixed, and I'm going to be getting you a new image hopefully this week that will have a number of major improvements in the way you tune and in the way you control your radio.
Well, that's great. It works okay on the 7300. I haven't tried it on the Yaesu yet, and I'm glad you got the code part fixed for the 7610. All right, I know Howard, you had mentioned that you needed to get out of here kind of early. It's getting close to 9, and I think you may have had some other things that you needed to do tonight. So again, you're welcome to stick around with us. Thanks a lot for showing us all about the RSS is what it's called. That's the RigPi Station Server, and we'll be doing more shows on this every couple weeks. We'll be kind of demoing it and showing it. And Martin, we've got Andy. Andy over in the UK is on here. He stays up and watches the show late every night. It's late in the UK. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning over here, and
Wow.
he said, can he be a beta tester in England? Now I don't know if there's any certification issues to send something like this to England. At some point to sell it over there, you might have to certify it.
Well, the ultimate person who makes that decision is going to be Howard.
Oh, okay. Howard's got a load on him right now. Huh?
Yeah, well, I'd love to have somebody from England involved. The other problem is, of course, the hardware, and right now we only have a limited number of beta units available. So over to you, Martin.
Oh, well, we can get some more. We just, we can build some more of them, as many units as you need for beta testers.
Great.
All right. Okay. Well, again, Howard, thank you so much. The show's gonna be. I'm gonna cut the show a little short tonight, but Martin and I are gonna talk a few minutes, and my old subject is ham radio when we were kids, man. And you're welcome to stick around and join the conversation if you want to. I see Joe is still in here. Joe Eisenberg is still in here with us, and he may want to jump in this next segment and talk about ham radio and how old we're getting.
Great. Well, I will bid farewell. And Tom, thank you so much for all of your support, your great testing, and obviously for all the time that you're giving us on your show. And I'm certainly hooked now in terms of watching you every week from now on. So thank you.
Well, all right, man. I appreciate it, and thank you too. And hey, I'm looking forward to getting that new version to load in my system here, because I need to be able to tune the frequencies faster. I hope that's coming.
Well, you can, right now, the way it is, you can type numbers in, you can use your up-down arrow keys, you can tap the screen if you have a touch device. It's got, gosh, a whole new set of ways to tune, mostly based on all your suggestions, so thank you.
All right, very good. Well, there's a question in the chat room about the 7610. That's fixed. It was just a what do you call it, a CIV problem, and Howard just had to get, I guess, that number coded into the software. The 7610 looks like that problem is working. I've already checked it out on the 7300. That's working. It's working on the Kenwood. So yeah, there's a lot of little things we need to do to adjust and fix, but hey, I like it. It can do what I want. It can do what I want to do right now. Now, Howard, you didn't even really touch on the digital pieces. You're building these digital programs into it where it'll run like, I don't know. Will it run like JT65 and stuff, or?
Oh yeah. The two programs are going to be preloaded, FLDG and WSJTX. So you'll be ready to go on all of the new digital modes.
Well, that's what Walter and I need, because we want to get on digital and we can't figure out how to make it work, So if you've got all this built in, all we got to do is a couple of clicks and, we can start making contacts. Hey, thanks a lot. I'll let you run there, or if you want to stick around, but we appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. See ya.
Hey, Howard.
Yeah.
Next time you come down to Mississippi to see me, I'm going to take you to where we can go eat some crawfish.
Oh my goodness. Well, I will be there tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, Martin. Thank you.
Okay. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Well, Martin, now when I come back down, Martin, I don't want to eat crawfish. I'm not a real fish eater, so we just got to go. What's that other place we go to, Martin? Obi's.
Yeah. Obi's.
Oh man, I love Obi's, man. I love Obi's. I want to go to Obi's. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much, everybody. Hey, everybody, we'll be back in just 1 second here. Be back 1 second. It's time to get the transceiver that's best suited for your lifestyle. Icom offers a variety of high-performance and innovative products. See how you can make the most out of contest season with one of these transceivers. The competitive edge you've been looking for is in the IC7851. Raise the bar and hear what others cannot hear with this flagship HF 50 MHz transceiver. It has reciprocal mixing dynamic range, crystal clear local oscillator, spectrum scope, dual receivers, and a digital voice recorder. The IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants, and just in time for contesting season. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out the faintest of signals even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The new Icom 7610 is a direct sampling software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. It has direct RF sampling, 110 dB RMDR, an independent dual receiver, and dual digiselect. The IC7300 has changed the way entry-level HF is designed. This high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design will far exceed your expectations. It has RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, a large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and an SD memory card slot. Visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on Icom radios. All right, guys, we're back, and I'm gonna put the phone number up here. We got some engineering group down at the university down here with Martin that want to call in to the show, I think. So let me put the number up there. Let's see. The number is 901-286-1116. If you want to call in with questions or anything. And Martin, are you talking to your guys down there?
Well, just now texting them, and I'm going to say, call
the number?
Right. How do you spell right?
Right. You spell right. Right now. R-I-T-E. Right now.
I don't know if they're going to call.
Or you might say R-A-T. Right now.
Hey, Preston. Are you watching? If you are, call right now.
Yeah.
You got the phone number there?
Yeah, the phone number's up. And we'll see now. Now, Preston. Now, what? Preston, tell us again who these people are.
Okay. This is the senior class, first semester seniors of the electrical engineering class. And they have this semester to get a working prototype of a design, and the next semester they refine it and get it into a box where they can show it off. But now they have to have a working prototype, and Preston is the head honcho of their design group, and he meets with me about once a week. He's a very smart kid. He's one of these guys in the electrical engineering class that all of us students hate it, because he's the guy who always breaks the curve. But he's a really good guy. He comes by and gives me updates just about every week, and he's a really good guy going to Mississippi State University. And
so he's not a ham. He's not a ham, but you're trying to convince him to be a ham. Is that right?
He's not a ham, but he's the vice president of the Ham Radio Club at Mississippi State University.
Well, that's cool.
Which has W5YD as its club sign. You know, back in the early days, all the college and university clubs started off with a W and a number for the call district and the letter Y. And then another letter, and from Mississippi State happens to be D. Now, that tradition has not completely kept to be that way in the entire country, but at Mississippi State, it's W5YD. I'm not sure if Preston is reading this text that I just sent him. I told him to call right now. He's a very modest guy. And
you're saying he sets the He sets the curve, huh? In there, really
He
smart.
sets the curve for his class.
Now, I heard you.
He didn't tell me that himself, but some of his fellow classmates told me that he did that. But he's a pretty smart guy. And talking to him and explaining stuff, he understood everything that I told him.
So Martin, I mean, this guy, I mean, he's an engineering student. I'm guessing they're probably in their early 20s, maybe early. What do you think?
Very, very early 20s. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think we need to put them at tests. I think we need to give them a slide rule and see how good they can do. What do you think about that? Give them a slide rule and
I
figure
think they
this
would
problem
catch
out.
on to a slide rule pretty quickly.
Well, they probably would.
These kind of guys may not even need a slide rule.
Yeah. Maybe kind of like Rain Man, you know. He just kind of looks up and he knows what to say. Okay, there's no phone calls coming in yet, guys. The phone lines are open.
I understand he's very conservative. In fact, I may surprise him and give him a quick call.
Yeah.
And see if he's going to answer. And I forgot. Let's see.
He probably isn't even watching tonight. You know, they're probably out partying somewhere. You know.
Well, you know, in engineering, you don't really have time to party. I think he's working on this project.
Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't look like it's going to call. Anybody else wants to call and talk about old time radio?
Come on, man. Let's call in. And while we're waiting on the call, I'm going to ask Martin why his crystal radio didn't work. The first radio he built. You know, it only got 3 parts in it. It had like a razor blade and a coil and I don't know what all. Maybe a razor blade was bad.
I think at that time I was either reading too much popular science or too much popular mechanics when they had these radar antennas. You know, it's looks like a little screen that rotated around and
yeah,
and you know that's what I was using, and
standby caller.
Never could get it to work. But you know, back then we had these old rotary dial telephones, and remember that finger stop.
Yep.
You know, when you put your finger in it and you turn it, you know, you could clip. And then you could clip your radio antenna onto that, and you could pick up all kind of stuff.
That's right. You sure could. So we got somebody. We got somebody on the phone. Let's see who's on the phone.
Okay.
No, it's not somebody.
Who's
it's Russ.
Hey, Russ.
K0VK.
Hey, how you doing, Russ?
Oh, okay. Thanks. This was the awesome show tonight, and I had talked to you, I don't know, a week or two ago. We were talking about the RxTX stuff.
Yeah.
Really works great. And thanks to your HamBot, I got a copy of the HRO, the latest software, and I used that. And it works great. But this new thing is just unbelievable. I'm really glad you had him on tonight. And Martin, thank you for helping him distribute that and do what you're doing with the kits.
Well, Russ, I appreciate you calling. That's very nice of you.
And hey, Russ, hey, that Pocket RxTX is still a good remote system. Especially if you're just running Droid. One of the nice things about the RigPi is it'll work on any system. Anybody's got a browser, whether it's Linux or Windows or whatever.
Well, that's the thing, and I know when you were talking remotes before, going down to different Hamfests and such, you were using it, and it was working quite well. This other thing is just, I don't know, every time you get something, somebody else has something always better, and I've always loved MFJ products anyway. I sometimes buy some just because it looks interesting, and I know it's going to be a good product, and they've never failed yet. So, yeah, really good thing. I'm glad you had this on tonight, Tom.
Yeah. All right. Well, the show's going a little longer than I thought it was going to go tonight. We're going to close the show down in a minute, but we're going to give Preston a chance to call in. Preston, if you're out there, call us at 901-286-1116. He's probably
Oh, I did
studying.
see that somebody put in, Jeff N3VE did put in the chat box, though, that Preston was at a fraternity party.
Yeah, I
That's
think
why
he
I waited
just
a
I
little
think he's
longer to
just
call,
guessing about
see if
that.
he
Jeff,
could get in,
I don't think Jeff really knows, but that's more likely where Preston is. He's either studying or at a fraternity party, probably.
Okay, we'll let you go, Tom. Thanks for the
All
show
right,
tonight.
all right, Russ. 73.
Hey, Tom, have you ever
73.
called anybody to call?
Have I ever called anybody?
Can you call somebody?
On this line, I can't call out on this line,
Okay.
and but I'm disconnected on my other stuff to call out, so I can't call him.
Okay.
But that's okay. That's all right.
No, I'm just trying to brag on these guys.
Yeah, I know. Well,
They
maybe next
took on a
time.
really difficult project, and they have done an incredible job. I didn't think they could do it. In fact,
Yeah.
when I first gave them the project, I had simplified it down to a point where I thought they could do it, because the whole idea of these projects is for them to graduate, and if it's too complicated and they can't do it,
What
it's not good
project? What
for them.
project are they working on?
Well, we have all these automatic antenna tuners, and most of them are based on binary sequence of inductors
Yeah.
and capacitors. But what I wanted them to do was to use a continuously variable rotor inductor and a continuously variable air variable capacitors, so it can handle much more power reliably than relay based automatic antenna tuners.
Man, I mean, Martin, that I've got it here. I've built up, a little motor-driven a capacitor and a motor-driven inductor that I can do remotely. And you're right, you can tune just about anything with that. I would love to hook that up with something like a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino and have a little SWR unit built in there where it senses the SWR and it does the auto tuning for the lowest SWR. It sounds like that's kind of what these guys are doing.
Well, that's pretty much what they're doing. I was trying to simplify the project for them by taking the output of our tuner and driving a stepper motor for the rotor inductor and the capacitor, but their professor wanted them to do the whole project, and I didn't think they could do it, but they came up with a solution by using a ready-built computer. I mean, it's not the Raspberry Pi, but something like that, and boards that you could get to drive stepper motors. So they did it in blocks, and it's pretty incredible how they're doing it, because I'm used to doing it from scratch, just from parts, but they're doing it based on blocks. So it's pretty incredible.
Well, and here's another little secret, and of course, probably everybody knows this, but you can take a single motor and put that capacitor and that inductor on the same motor and just gear reduce one of them, where the capacitor, where the capacitor turns 4 times for every 1 turn that the inductor turns.
Yeah.
And you can just run that thing, and it'll find a spot where it matches, man. That capacitor is moving so fast,
Yeah.
that it'll hit a spot. Wow. Hey, tell them send me one for prototype. I'd like to test it.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Let's see what else is going on, Martin. That's about it. Let me get back to your crystal radio now. You're supposed to use a blue blade. Do you remember that? It was the razor blades were a double-edged blue blade. I think you had to use a blue blade. I don't know why.
Well, yeah, and I understand what you're saying. No, this what I used. It wasn't a double-edged blue blade. It was a single-edged blade. Where on one edge of it you could hold it down and push down and cut something. It really wasn't the kind of blade that you put into a shaver where you had two blades, where if one of them, got dull, you could turn it around and use the other side. Or wait a minute, no, Gillette had a razor where you could put the double edge on it, and you could use one side, and then when it got dull, you just turn it around and use the other side. But this was a single edge blade.
Now I never heard anybody building one with a single edge blade. Maybe that was your problem.
I think that might have been.
All right. Martin, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna say goodnight and shut the show down here. It's 9:15, and we're not gonna have hangout tonight. Tonight's election night. I'm sure people are probably wanting to go to TV and see how things are turning out for the election. And we'll be back next week. And if you're available, Martin, we'll have you on the show and we'll continue our discussion. And
I'll say 73's from here in Nebraska.
For Joe, and thanks a lot for joining us, Joe, and we enjoyed the kits tonight.
Yeah.
Always enjoy doing that. Always enjoy doing it and showing people how much fun it is to build kits.
It's good to see you,
all right,
Joe, from Lincoln, Nebraska, the home of High Gain before we brought it down here to Mississippi.
Yep, the High Gain plant is still there. It's Telex Bosch, and it's less than a mile from my house, right in the same neighborhood.
All right, good night, Joe. We'll see you later.
You bet.
Okay, we'll see you.
All right, so hey guys, we're gonna end the show here tonight. We're gonna take the phone lines off. We didn't have really many calls. I think our attendance was down tonight, probably because of the election too. So let me get that off of here, and there we go. All right, so we'll say good night to everybody. Let's see, Martin, are you still with us, Martin, or are you gone? I think Martin's gone. Okay, Martin's gone. Okay, oh, is he? Maybe I hung up on both of them. I don't know. Okay, hey guys, thanks so much for joining tonight. Tune in next week. Join our 40-meter net. It's on 7180 at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. Join us, and we'll have a great time on HF before the show. 73, we'll see you guys later.